see the baby maples? Where are they?
Right there.
Yeah, they're tiny and they have little tiny maple leaves on them. And can you imagine that those giant ones over there started just like that, and now
look how cute
they look like
they are.
that? Isn't that cool?
I have a lift upon the bucket.
Oh, okay.
It's not
I
prickly.
don't know what kind of leaf that is. I'm not sure. It's kind of shiny and smooth.
I got a.
What kind of tree is this?
That's a cedar
How can you tell?
because it has bark. I draw.
Yeah, it has peely bark. What do you see?
A hole.
You see a big hole?
Yeah.
What do you think lives in there?
A raccoon.
You think a raccoon lives in there?
I think a raccoon or a squirrel lives in there.
Yeah, probably something lives in there. Looks like there's been some creature making a little bed of bark or something.
I wish I could go inside there.
You're too big. It's made for a little critter.
I wish I was an animal that went inside there.
Yeah.
Mrs. McGinn, today we're going to learn about all the things that we got from the woods somewhere deep in our backyard.
Because
First,
we're learning about what?
habitats,
Of the
forest.
the Northwest where we live, right?
And okay, so the first thing that we've got is a branch with lots of needles from a Douglas fir tree. This is from a Douglas fir tree. It looks sort of green, and also the Douglas fir needles look a little pointy. And since I love astronomy, I use this to be the sun. This is a cedar cone.
Here, hold it up so we can see.
A very small cone that is from a cedar tree. And I've never seen a cedar cone before. This was my first time in my life I saw one.
They're really tiny, aren't they?
And they're one of the tiniest cones ever.
Do you want to say hi to Mrs. Smitkin?
Yeah. Hi, Mrs. Smitkin. The next one that I'm going to do is a hemlock cone. Hemlock cones are from a hemlock tree. They fall from it, though. And know what else is a hemlock cone? This is a hemlock cone too.
Do you know what's inside of the cones?
What?
The tree's seeds.
And then there are seeds inside the tree's cone. Hi, Mrs. Wallace.
Oh, we'll have to make a video for Mrs. Wallace too. This one's just for Mrs. Smitkin though.
And then this is also a small kind of cone, but bigger than the cedar cones though. We still need to move on.
Yes, let's move on.
Next is going to be coming a piece of lichen. We took it off to see, put it in our bucket and show this to you. And the color is light blue. The next thing that I'm going to tell you is this. This is a sword fern. The reason why they call the name a sword fern, it is because it looks like a sword. These sword ferns are a little pointy, and the color is green. After sword ferns come equisetum. Equisetum is a plant that lives right next to our swampy swamps. It has also lived back when the dinosaurs were alive.
Do you remember the word for that?
What?
Prehistoric.
Prehistoric means it was there a very long time ago. Prehistoric. After equisetum will be coming a cedar branch. This cedar branch has fallen off a cedar tree. And we collected it in our bucket to show this to you. Cedar needles are different than Douglas fir needles.
How can you tell?
Because Douglas fir needles are very pointy and cedar needles are very smooth.
Yeah, and flat, huh?
Yeah. Next is a Douglas fir cone. This Douglas fir cone is a cone that's fallen off a Douglas fir tree. The Douglas fir cone has some 3-pointed tongues that hang out from the back side of it.
Did you know that I heard a little story once about how it looks like there are little mice hiding in there because they look like little mouse paws?
Douglas fir cones are hard cones, and they're a very big cone. Next is a salmonberry flower. Some salmonberries appear to be red, while some appear to be yellow.
The flowers?
No, the berry itself.
Oh, the berry itself.
The flowers are mostly pink with green on the stem. We usually have them on the blackberry bushes right next to our creek bed. Now the next thing that I'm going to show her is this right here.
What is that?
This is a bigger piece of lichen that we took off from the tree there, right on the fort, right by our creek bed. And the smaller piece came from this piece because it had fallen off. And then the next one is a leaf. And mostly we have them on 2 bushes right in front of the porch, right next to our house. Now we're done with this leaf. Next is a holly leaf.
Yeah.
Holly leaves are dark green leaves. We have a lot of them in the woods.
And they're prickly, aren't they?
And they're very prickly. I keep feeling the prickliness. Ow! But they're very smooth. They're very prickly on the edges, but they're very prickly on the edges, but they're very smooth in the middle. And then the next thing that I need to talk to you is about some moss.
Oh, the moss.
We got this moss from a rock. Mostly they grow on trees, but sometimes they grow on rocks too.
Yep.
Tails using scissors.
Yeah, no scissors, tail. Whoop.
And this moss is colored light green, and it's also a little soft. Whoa! But it is getting a little hardened since it's in the house. Next is going to be these.
Now those ones are
cones.
interesting, aren't they?
These, I don't know what these little cones are from, but they're so tiny.
They're from alder trees? One of the few deciduous.
And no, these must be from an alder tree. These branches and little cones. Sure. These branches and little cones must be from an alder tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Last but not least.
Oh, did we miss something?
The second last but not least is the tiny piece from the big piece of fern. You know about that. That last but not least comes some grass. This grass. What was this grass from, Mommy?
Probably just the grass down by the creek.
Yep, it was from the grass down by the creek. There is grass on one. There is a lot of grass on one side. And I'm glad we get lots of rain to help the grass grow.
Me too. What animals did we hear and see? And insects?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the insects we saw?
We found a millipede and.
What was the very first little one we saw? A little tiny beetle.
We found a beetle. We found a blue jay.
And we heard all sorts of birds that we didn't know what kind of bird they were. You can hear it. You know another animal we see in our woods sometimes that's really big?
What?
Deer.
I'll play with and we see some deer in the woods sometimes.
Yeah, and what was the other animal you saw in the woods the other day? The animal you were kind of afraid of the other day.
It was a raccoon.
A raccoon.
That was coming out of a tree and it scared us.
Yeah, we think that little hole in that tree might be where the raccoons live. Or they hide in there or something. And we've seen squirrels. All right. Can you say bye, Mrs. Smitkin?
Bye, Mrs. Smitkin. Bye, Mrs. Smitkin. I'll see you next adventures class that will have to take you on a field trip.
Well, which will probably be next school year at this point because school is closed, at least in person, even though we're still doing school at home.